If you've spent more than 5 minutes in a school building this year or have children in your home, you've heard it, 6-7. This completely meaningless phrase, often accompanied by a shrugging hand motion, is the current reigning champ of brain rot slang. Teachers have no clue why. Parents are baffled. But as a psychology teacher, I know that nothing humans do is truly random. The 6-7 trend is a perfect, real-world case study for some of the biggest ideas in social and developmental psychology. This is our attempt to break down why this bit of nonsense has become Gen Alpha's official language. The power of in-groups and belonging. The most powerful psychological driver of the 6-7 trend comes from the work of Henri Tajfel and John Turner's social identity theory. This theory states that part of our self-concept, the way we define ourselves, comes from the groups we belong to. We see the world in two camps, the in-group, which is us, and the out-group, which is them. And we all want to be a member of an in-group. According to Abraham Maslow, human motivation is based on fulfilling certain needs, including the need to love and belonging, described in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This means that we all have needs for friendship, intimacy, trust, acceptance, receiving and giving affection, and being part of a group. Knowing what 6-7 is, and more importantly, knowing the specific, nonsensical context it's used in, is a fast, audible, and visual signal that you are a member of the current online youth culture. The in-group. And for a developing adolescent, meeting this need is crucial. Their entire social worlds are structured around forming and maintaining friendships and group affiliations. When a tween or teen adopts the 6-7 trend, they are actively seeking to satisfy this core psychological requirement. Consider the opposite of belonging. Psychologists have found that social exclusion can activate the same brain regions associated with physical pain. Even being excluded from something trivial like a new word fad, in a kid's mind, can be consequential. The brain treats social pain, like being left out, with the same urgency as bodily harm. Therefore, participating in viral trends like 6-7 is a powerful, low-effort mechanism teenagers use to reduce anxiety over potential social rejection and confirm their status within their peer group. Because 6-7 is intentionally vague and resists any concrete definition, it creates an instant barrier to those outside the in-group. This includes anyone older than 18 years old. When an adult asks, "What does that even mean?" the simple, accurate answer, "Nothing," only increases their confusion. This makes the youth feel clever and reinforces their unique group identity. The confusion of the out-group strengthens the pride of the in-group. I mean, who doesn't love an inside joke? Conformity and normative social influence. While the first person who said 6-7 may have done it creatively, everyone after them is engaging in the psychological process of conformity. Specifically, this is something called normative social influence, the desire to gain approval and avoid rejection from the group. Solomon Asch famously demonstrated this when participants knowingly gave incorrect answers to simple line-length questions just to agree with the majority. You might not even find 6-7 that funny, but if everyone else in your peer group is saying it, using the slang is a simple, low-effort way to fit in. It's an automatic social behavior that prevents you from being seen as out of touch or uncool. Social media algorithms pile on. When a trend is pushed on TikTok and Instagram to millions of users, the perception of a group norm is amplified. You see enough people doing it that your brain perceives it as a universal, necessary social cue. Cognitive fluency, nonsense as a brain break. Why this phrase and not another? Part of the answer can be found in our cognitive wiring. Viral slang often requires low cognitive load. Phrases like 6-7 are short and rhythmic. It's also easy to repeat. They don't require deep thought or linguistic precision. Compare this to other slang that requires specific knowledge, like using a quote from a movie or TV show. The barrier to entry for using those sentences is much higher and requires some background knowledge. 6-7 is a purely emotional or social placeholder. Using it lets your brain disengage from the constant flood of information that school is full of. Add the fact that repetition increases a concept's cognitive fluency, how easily the brain processes it. The more the phrase is heard on a loop in songs, videos, and in hallways, the stickier it becomes in your mind, making it an easy default word to grab when you just need to say something funny. Generational resistance and individuation. Finally, 6-7 is a small act of rebellion. It's a key psychological task for adolescents known as individuation. Every young generation creates its own language to set itself apart from the one before. The flappers called things the bee's knees. The hippies said groovy. Millennials called everything swag. And Yeek had a good run with Gen Z. In the 21st century, the fastest way to assert independence is to create a cultural artifact that adults simply cannot grasp. By embracing a completely undefinable word, Gen Alpha is trolling authority and defining their own space. They are subtly challenging the adults in their lives, teachers and parents, who value logical, precise language. And they are carving out a linguistic space on the internet that is uniquely their own, where they are the experts and the arbiters of cool. So, the next time you hear 6-7, don't just roll your eyes. View it as a fascinating real-time experiment in social identity theory, conformity, and generational individuation. It might not mean anything literally, but psychologically, it says something very different. And if you try to explain the psychology behind the trend to a kid, you'll be so uncool that you might just end it. Until the next one comes along.